Hey Quavanda, we're going to take a look at your final project here. In terms of kind of how this is developed from the last time that we saw this, which is here, there's definitely a lot of things that have improved, and I think the overall kind of finish of everything is much better. Lines are much straighter, angles tend to be sharper. I think details are a little more refined and things like that. I think that aspect of this has really come along well, and it definitely feels much more finished than at any point beforehand, which is a good thing. The marker technique is good. I think overall the only areas where I really feel like it still feels like it's lacking a little bit is in the cast shadows of the objects themselves. They're a little too harsh. I think they're, just a little bit too black, and they don't feel like they have any kind of technique in place, especially the one underneath the couch, which feels a little kind of sketchy, very uneven. It's really kind of breaking beyond the boundaries of the sofa itself, so it doesn't work as that kind of correct of a cast shadow, but it also is just kind of feels a little bit too rough, and I think it could definitely be lighter in value. I think a gray, like an 80 gray, that we'll still be able to see a little bit underneath it, as well as just kind of a straight up kind of technique of a blind, maybe just going across and going across to get it to show up. But they both feel just a little bit too strong. I think they just stand out to me a little bit, too much. Other things, though, do look really good. I think the texture on the carpeting has turned out to be very nice. I like the fact that you're adjusting the value of the stippling to fit with kind of the shadows, which is a nice little touch. Things like details like the curtain rings that are on the rods, or the locks on the windows, or even the painting that's behind the sofa, they definitely add to the sense of realism and just kind of overall kind of just nice touches to things. I do think there could still be more being dealt with here. I think the windows being just completely white and open and being the same color as the wall, it's very easy to move from the wall into the window and not really notice that you've done it. And I think having something back here to fill in that space to show that there is an environment beyond the boundaries of this room, that really helps to open up any composition. If you can create multiple rooms, so for instance where you have kind of this black doorway, if it actually had a room kind of back there, that can help to open things up as well. But I think the windows being kind of the main thing, and it does feel a little bare bones, I'd say, kind of overall. It'd be nice to see a little bit more shadows within the drapery, just a tad bit more texture within the table, although maybe there is, but I'm not really able to see it at this point. It's just not kind of showing up, whether it's the scan or the image quality. There is some compression. I can see like little squares of compression occurring, which I think is probably obscuring a lot of the detail. But I think that some of that stuff could help to kind of fill out some of those areas where it could use just a little bit more extra oomph. And some layering issues with some of the color. Again, the value, I think in the front of this sofa, it's very similar to that of the cast shadow, where I think it could just be a little bit smoother and more even. I think it's just the composition itself it's a basic composition. It's a one-point perspective within a room, so I think you have to do what you can to get it to kind of open up a little bit more. I think you've done a nice job with keeping things nice and clean, very minimal, which is good. The sofa looks terrific. The perspective throughout the room feels terrific. The details that you have added look great. But I feel like having a little bit more going on in the windows. I think a little more consistency with the technique could really help. But some, again, I think some very good technique, great kind of blind occurring in other areas. So it is kind of an inconsistency thing where we've got some great stuff going on in some places, and I think just a little more work in some others.